What's up everyone, Criddle here, and we got another patch today. Unfortunately, this one is not a big content update. I know a lot of us are looking for a big content update before we jump back into the game, but we did get a lot of class changes. The last couple of patches have been all class changes, and we got some more today. This one's mostly focused on the Direlord and Rogue, but we also got some changes to the Shaman, the Necromancer, Warrior, Cleric, Enchanter, and I believe that is it. But before we jump into all the patch notes, I want to go over here to announcements because there's two big announcements that you may have missed if you are not in the Discord and following what is going on there. So thank you everyone for your patience while we work on a few things from the last patch. First, we want to acknowledge that we understand the concern regarding half-baked patches and their impact on the player base. It is never our intention to put out incomplete patches, but it happens when work is actively being done and internal comms fail to alert everyone that something is not finished. We will strive for better. The team will be committing to documenting their changes so that the entire team is aware of what will be in the patch. We have struggled with this previously as we have gotten a little too informal in our development changes. I'm going to stop there for right now because this next part all kind of goes together with this number 2 and down. I just want to say that I am glad that they are acknowledging these changes. They have had some half-baked patches in the past, quite a few of them, and that they are, we're getting a bit too informal. So I want to say thank you for acknowledging that and owning up to it. And hopefully we start to see these changes in the future. That said, sometimes it does take Visionary Realms a couple of weeks, maybe even a month, for some of these changes and some of these announcements that they make to actually happen. So let's give them a little bit of time before we all jump down their throats. So let's move on down here to the next section. The previously mentioned utilization of testing cohorts is ready to go, and we will be inviting our first set of advanced testers soon. This will be essential in quality control. This is kind of what I was referring to in that previous statement. We were able to sign up to be a tester 2 months ago, and they're just now getting around to sending out those emails and getting some testers in place. So give them some time. It's a slow process sometimes. Regarding advanced testers, the first cohort will be relatively small so that we can work on our onboarding process. Selection was made using a scoring system. We won't reveal the exact criteria, but it involved key factors based on the application and player account information. To keep it unbiased, team input was limited to disqualifying factors. As a reminder, when those notifications go out, please make sure you follow the directions and keep to the rules. We will be enforcing a zero tolerance policy for any deviation. I'm going to talk about that here in just a second. For those not selected, you continue to be in our pool of applicants to expand or replace currently selected testers, and will be open. We will open that process up occasionally to new applicants as needed. So going back here, the reminder that they're talking about is when you signed up to be a tester, if you signed up to be a tester, they did say in there, do not give people your character name, your server, if you're, whatever server you play on, and don't even tell people that you are a tester outside of the testers. So if you're in talking to the testers, obviously everyone in there knows that you're a tester, but if you're outside of that, you're talking to some friends, talking to some other people in the game, don't tell them, hey, I'm a tester. So just want to throw that out there. Otherwise, they will disqualify you. They will kick you off of being a tester if that information gets out. That said, I want to kind of throw something else out there that might help some people out. If somebody asks you right now and you did apply to be a tester and somebody says, hey, are you a tester? And you say no, and they, somebody else asks you, maybe you're in a group or whatever, and everybody's talking about being a tester. Or are you a tester? And everybody says no. And then all of a sudden you receive that email and you previously said, no, I'm not a tester. And now somebody asks you again and you say, we're not allowed to talk about that. It kind of basically says that you're a tester. So going forward, if anybody is talking about being a tester, just don't talk about it, or just say, hey, if they're not supposed to talk about being a tester or not being a tester, etc. And it just makes it a lot easier for everybody. And you don't have a chance of, accidentally getting flagged and getting kicked off the test team. Just a little advice out there. Take it or leave it. Just want to throw that out there. So all of that out of the way, let's move on to the actual patch itself. A lot of changes happened in the last patch regarding readiness. We're getting a few more of those changes, hopefully to make that readiness a little bit better in this patch. So the first thing here is readiness now regens while out of combat and while resting in combat. This is a very, very big change, and I'm very glad that they added it, because previously I would have to go and pull like an easier mob so that the group could build up readiness so that when we go into the big fight that we're going to do, like a named mob or something along those lines, everybody has full readiness so they can use their abilities right out of the gate. This is a very nice change so that when everybody takes a med break, you also get your readiness back during that time. Another big change down here is resistances, armor class, and avoidance have all been lowered. The avoidance is only temporarily lowered because of an accuracy bug, but the other two are being lowered because of the new rules to resist buff and AC debuff, resist debuff and AC debuff stacking rules. If you don't know what these are, previously you would use techniques, and different classes would use different techniques to then stack up the different debuffs to get AC or resist down to a point where you could actually damage mobs consistently and do a decent amount of damage to them to defeat them quickly. Now you're going to have specific classes that are going to have their own debuff lines that are going to allow them to do that. And you're going to want those classes in your group rather than using the technique. Now, if you don't have those classes in the group, you can still use the technique to get a lesser effect, but it would still be better to have those specific classes. That all said, I have heard that group NPCs right now are a lot easier to defeat in the game, which a lot of people are sure are going to complain about. Personally, I don't want there to be group NPCs and solo NPCs. I want there just to be one type of enemy in the game, and that is what they are. And you just can increase stats as needed. If you're way down deep in Houndier Cave, they should just have higher stats. They should be tougher to defeat. If you're on the overworld, maybe make them a little bit easier under certain circumstances. If there's a named in the overworld, obviously that should be a harder enemy to defeat. So moving on from all of that, bug fixes, nothing I want to really call out here. We got disorient state now lasts for 60 seconds, up from 20 seconds. More technique changes. Like I said previously, they had a huge update last time that did a lot of changes to the readiness, and a lot of those readiness costs were 2,000, which was way too high for some of these abilities. So they lowered a bunch of them down to 1,000. I still don't think any of these really are going to be used all that often because they still do very low damage and they spend readiness. And they, more importantly, they hit that 1.5 second global cooldown. So you're not able to use another ability. Most people are not going to want to have a 1.5 global cooldown for something as low as like 10 damage on higher level enemies. So there's that. I personally have said this many times. I think they need to just get rid of readiness completely. It doesn't even need to be in the game. And I think it just makes things needlessly complicated. Direlord changes. So this right here, I'm not going to go over every one of the Direlord changes, but this one I do want to call out, which is Arcane Tear is learned at level 15 through weapon skill level and now steals 10 of all resistant types. And then Arcane Tear has a combo ability that is learned at level 30 through weapon skill level as well, and now steals 20 of all resistance types. So combo ability is that key thing here. This is also called out down here on the warrior, where Strike of Breaking is now a combo ability. If you do not know what a combo ability is, I didn't either, so I looked into it using my warrior. And basically what this is you can use the ability multiple times if you are the correct level. So let's say for the Direlord right here at level 15, you unlock this ability and you go up to a mob and you use that ability to then lower its resistance by 10. It will then automatically combo to the next tier, which is going to be Arcane Tear 2. And this is going to be a level 30 ability. So if you are under level 30, it will still show up as Arcane Tear 2. However, it will be grayed out and you will not be able to use it. If you are level 30, you will be able to use that ability and then cast it on the same enemy or a different enemy, and I'm going to go over that in just a second, to get an additional 20 resistance to all types. So I tested that out down here with my Strike of Breaking on my warrior. They do get 3 different upgrades to it. So it's a total of 4 different debuffs. So you have Strike of Breaking 1, Strike of Breaking 2, 3, and 4. And basically how it works is you have 10 seconds from the first time you cast the first ability until you can cast the second ability. If you don't cast the second ability within 10 seconds, it resets to the first ability and activates the remainder of the cooldown. So the cooldown, I believe, on Arcane Tear is 20 seconds, and on Strike of Breaking, it's 30 seconds. So for my warrior, if I use Strike of Breaking, I wait 10 seconds. There will be 20 seconds left on the cooldown for Strike of Breaking 1. Now, if I target an enemy and I use Strike of Breaking, and within those 10 seconds, I use Strike of Breaking again, whether it's on the same enemy or a different enemy, it will then advance to Strike of Breaking 3 if I am of the appropriate level. Now, with all of that, you can target different enemies. So I could target enemy A with Strike of Breaking 1, and then target enemy B with Strike of Breaking 2, and then go to enemy C with Strike of Breaking 3, and so on. Or I can stay on the same enemy and just give them a higher version of that. So you can't stack the abilities, but you can use them on different enemies if you want to. So the first one would have -10 to their armor class for Strike of Breaking. The second one would have -20. The third one would have -30, and the fourth one would have -40. Or you can put all of those onto the same enemy, and it goes 10, then 20, then 30, then 40, and it just caps out at 40. Hopefully I explained that well. If not, I apologize. Go check it out in the game and see how it works. Moving on here, there's some new changes to the different abilities on the Direlord. We got a new life tap. We got some Devour Dexterity upgrades, Devour Constitution upgrades. They also added in Devour Intellect starting at level 10 and some upgrades to that. So you can check out all of those. Call of the Dire is now an instant cast and 3-minute cooldown. That is the one where you can cast it on an enemy and he basically slowly walks to you with like a 60% snare, something along those lines. I don't know a lot of people that are actually using this. It used, in my opinion, too much essence, but now that it's instant cast, I don't know, maybe people will use it. Enchanter adjusted the levels that Forceful Will line is received. Forceful Will is now available at level 6, and then they added in another line or another update to that, upgrade to that at level 36. I believe that is part of these changes up here to the resist debuff. I believe is Forceful Will. Somebody can correct me if I am incorrect on that. We got some Necromancer changes, so added a new line of abilities, starting with Noxious Vapors at level 10 that slow the target's attack speed and cast speed. Really good ability for Necromancers. I'm glad that Necromancers are getting some love, although this is not much love. They're at least getting something. Moving on to Rogues. Rogues are getting a lot of love here, a lot of changes. I'm going to leave it to you all to go through these, but there's something specific that I want to call out, which are the changes to all the damage modifiers. So Backstab, Waylay, both got changed to a Dexterity. Actually, they may have already been a Dexterity modifier, but they said change to a Dexterity modifier. Blackjack Kick, Fan of Knives, or Agility. We have Bloodletter and another one down here, Deceptive Strike. Anyway, where I'm going with this is now with the Rogue, you need to have Dexterity, Agility, Stamina, and Intellect. All of those stats are going to benefit you in doing damage. This is something that a lot of people are talking about. I personally don't like, and that's basically that some of these classes are now requiring too many stats to be viable. I know that Paladin was the one that a lot of people were talking about recently, and you need Strength, Stamina, Constitution, Wisdom, and another stat. I don't remember. Anyway, you needed like 4 to 5 different stats to make them really viable. And now we're starting to see that in Rogue. Personally, I don't like that. I think we need to limit it to maybe 2 or 3 stats per class to make them good, especially with the way that the stats are on gear. I don't want to go into too much more detail since this is mostly about the patch notes, but that's kind of where I am on that. Also, fixed an issue with the first rank of Corrosive Brew, where it's not reducing the amount of armor as intended. So they fixed that, which is nice to see. And then they added in a level or additional ranks of Corrosive Brew. This right here, Blackjack level 2 and 3 added to vendors. I looked into this. Somebody was complaining that they couldn't find it. I also could not find either of these. So if you know where these are located, please let us know down in the comments below. I think some rogues would really appreciate that because I did not see them on the vendors at all. The Fan of Knives, I believe, was there. Shaman updates. So adjusted the level at which the Scorched Fog line is acquired from 10, 20, 30, 40 to 10, 18, 20. So they just basically reduced the level that is required for that. And the first armor class reduction the Shaman learn is now called Fraying at level 6. So Shamans are going to be part of this update up here where they're going to be doing the AC debuffs using their Fraying line. The Cleric, Quick Discipline change from health to readiness. That should read, in my opinion, Quick Discipline fixed from health to readiness, because that was obviously an oversight and should not have been there. But I'm glad that they did fix that. We already went over Strike of Breaking. And finally, we have some visual effects changes that you can check out if you want to down here. Anyway, that is the entirety of the patch notes and this update. I will, like I've said many times, be keeping an eye on this game. I'm not playing it as much as I used to, but I am still keeping an eye on it. And if any new big content comes out, you can be assured that I will go and check that out. Thanks for watching, and I hope you see you in the next one. Bye.